Gentlemen, we are live on Sunday. Why aren't you on the call? But if you're not on the call, hopefully you are enjoying this Facebook Live. So right now, as you know, there's the Sunday call, which goes all day. Terrence is live on it. He's tearing it up. It's 4 p.m. Austin time. And I got to get on the road because I have to go to a podcast where we're doing some recordings. But I wanted to do this little presentation on sex without pleasure because that's what we've been talking about. Sex without pleasure. What does that do? Or the meaning of sex. And there was a lot of talk about this because when I came up with the pickup dudes that I came up with, a lot of them were having sex and being sexually active, but they weren't enjoying it or they weren't finding the same fulfillment that I found with it that I was telling you that I found with my buddy, who I always call Mitch in my recordings, just because he likes his privacy, but an amazing guy. And we would talk on and on about how much sex changed us, that pussy changed us, that this meant something and it transformed us as men. And I see so many men not doing that. What I see, and this is one of those things that, man, my dogs are going crazy in there, catching snakes. He caught a snake the other day. He killed it. It's crazy. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, don't do that to a water moccasin. But that all being said is that when we're doing things sexually, I hear so much information on the men's development industry about control, about power, about kicking ass, about how it defines you as a man, about speaking to the pain of what you are as a man, that I have less, that I don't feel like a man, I'm getting my worth through gaining dominance and all this sort of stuff. And sex will teach you that. Sex will give you that. Sex will absolutely build that feeling within you. However, here's the sad thing, is that if you're only going for that, that's like the cherry on top. Those are all those little chocolate sprinkles on top of your sundae. That if you're only going for that, then you will be completely void of the purpose of sex. See, sex is a part of the complete man. And this doesn't mean that you need to be, like, you can learn it all from sex. I'll tell you that this right now. It will teach you so much. That's why I started the sexual life. Because it was my journey. It's these talks that I'd have with Jason Savage and my buddy Mitch about how it developed you as a person. But see, the thing is that so many guys come in with so much pain and so much confusion that they end up like so many guys in pickup. Like one of the questions on today's call was, why do you think it fucks so many people up? And I was talking about my mentors, you know, CJ and Sin and those guys, and they saw sex as a different thing. You know, for them, it was a different process. It had a different meaning, and they never got to the place where I feel it transformed me and how it's repetitiously transformed thousands of guys through TSL and what we've done, and even without TSL. But see, the thing is how they saw sex was something that was a way of getting back something. You know, I can't speak too much for him, and this is a theory and so on, but with CJ, it was so much about getting back at his ex. And that's what propelled him. And as soon as he got over that emotionally, I remember, he was still good with women. He still had the skill set that he built, but he didn't have the drive. For me, now, I had sex. I had sex as a point of pleasure. I dove into it. I went 100% with it. That was something that I wanted to do, that I had to give myself, that I couldn't see the clarity of what sex would teach me unless I went 100% with it. So I got it hit hard in my face. But with myself, I had so much resentment around my mother, so much resentment and victimization around all this sort of stuff that I was pushed towards it. Now, I didn't logically see this. I didn't consciously see this, but it's very easy to see once you start peeling away the layers of the onion of me. I had so much resentment towards it. It was like, fuck yeah, man, I want to get control of this because I was put down by it. I felt that I was put down by it. I was shamed by it, that I was going to get back up by it. That, man, it would be so easy for me to have that fight. You know, that all these things happen with Sin, a guy who is a little bit more on that, and again, not a doctor, but I'd guess just having so many clients like this, that Asperger's guy didn't see the point in it. His point, you know, an angry Asperger's guy, because there's two different types. There's guys that aren't angry and there's guys that are. And that the fight was to be able to reclaim his masculinity. He didn't feel that. And he got involved in it young, you know, as a young man, and these guys got lost in it, man. Just like so many people got lost in it. They didn't get it, and they never found an answer to it. And that's the sad thing, because if you're fucking for somebody else, man, you're never going to get it. And then we see it in pickup, and we see it over and over again. And all the way into what I see with my modern day friends who refuse to allow to put themselves entirely into sex. What do, man? I got in an argument with a guy, I'll withhold his name. If you guys are on the calls, you know it, but I was like, man, you're not speaking like a guy who fucks. You're talking about sex dominance. You're putting women down. You're trying to control them. Your broadcast is to shame them. And he's like, no, man, I've had plenty of sex this year. I've had sex with 8 women. And of course, a guy like that would say it. You know what I get from, and that's, I mean, to me, that's not a lot. But from eight women is enough. What I get from that, when I put myself into it, when I put me into it, when I put my emotion into it, when I put my fear into it, because that's what comes out when I'm on top of a woman or she's on top of me and I'm giving myself to her and I see her soul, man, and I go for that and that's food for me and I love it, man, and I get carried away and I see her face change and give me the one orgasm that I can give her that no man can give her, and she sees the same thing in me and she sees my soul and I see her soul, or whatever delusional shit we move into when that happens. That's fucking sex, man. That's the shit that we talk about on the calls. That's the shit that you're missing out on if you're not on the calls. That's the shit I can sit down with Terrence and experience with, or Jason Savage and share our experiences with, and all that sort of stuff. And man, that's it. Because when you have that, you know there's more to you. There's more to all of this, and it humbles you, and you go, fuck, this is bigger than me, and I can plug my dick into it, I can plug my heart into it, I can plug my emotion in it, and it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And at that time, that's where my dominance comes from. That's where my, oh, this is the defining roles of men and women. This is how it works. Man, when you do not have a life where you have that sharing, when you've mixed with a woman, when you let yourself go with that woman, when you don't have that, then what do you have? You have a life that is based on control about, God, man, pinpointing it and defining women and defining how it works without using your fucking dick, man. You haven't been led by your balls. You haven't been led by your testosterone. You haven't been led by your drive. You've not been led by your sperm. And this goes all the way into, like, man, you have kids with somebody. Man, I see people giving advice on kids and being a father without fucking having a kid, or the perspectives on that, any of that. Dude, man, when you are led by that, when you've given it all, that's what life is. I'm standing around life. You know how much death there is around here? To create this, to create these blades of grass, to create these expressions of nature, there's tons of death, but it's always trying. And when you see life work, man, when you look all around you, when you see it happen, it happens in excess. It happens in random, and it happens with putting everything there. And when that comes out, man, that's how we get that simplicity of expression. You have to give everything. You have to give it all. Your expression is of nature. You don't beat it. Just because you can control something, just because I can dig a hole doesn't, I'm still dependent upon the earth. And there's so much philosophy that goes into this that we talk about all the time. But man, I'll say this, I'll probably record something else, but more specifically on this. When you live a life without women, you live a life against women. And vice versa. If you're a woman, you live a life without men, you live a life against men. Because it's too easy to see the differences. It's too easy to stay separate. You got to merge and change. You got to mix with that. In order to get in touch with all of this stuff, need to, one, know I'm a man. Fuck yeah, I get that. I get that loud and clear. I probably get that a lot better than these other fucking bitches and pussies who are, defining all that sort of. I get that, man. I understand that. But I understand that because I've dove into women. I've let myself go with women. Man, I learned the philosophy of sex, and I'm learning the philosophy of sex. I don't write it. I'm just a carrier towards it. I'm a vehicle of it. We are all of nature, and we all have this great experience. We gotta go with it. Man, let pussy guide you. Let pussy shed the light. Because if it doesn't, then you get robbed by it. You get used by it. You get fucked by it without pleasure. And if you're fucking it without pleasure, and if you're doing it without pleasure, that's the worst. That's the worst place to be. Because you think you know something, and all you're doing is empowering your anger and confusion within. In any case, I got to get to this other podcast. I'll see you guys there. I'll post about that. Hopefully I can get some support from it, and I'll talk to you guys later.